Good morning, all of you. First, I will say sorry for delay because of some misunderstanding. Sorry. Okay. Now, everyone will agree that when foundation is strong, you can build as many as you can on that very solid ground, right? Same thing happens with the human life. Human life has a multiple building stones, what we call as a milestones. We are all aware of teething, walking, speech, everything. But what I want to focus that actually it starts from the day of conception. This is very important in child psychiatry cases. Now, what I want to focus is that um, the causes of the evolution of the any clinical case of child or child, because if any of this development is delayed or there is any disturbance at this level, it will affect your further development. So automatically the further milestones is affected. And as WHO has defined that it is not only the absence of symptoms, but it is also a well-being. It is a mental, physical and social well-being of the person. So it is overall development, so pervasive development. So most of the time we have seen the person who has been a gold medalist may not be a successful in life, or a person who has just may not have that much higher education may be very successful in his life, because IQ, EQ, his social development, everything matters a lot. So this is extremely important, the causes, the evolution. What I want to focus is that it doesn't start at the level of at the point of birth, but it starts from the parenting. The husband wife relationship, like a mother mental state during the pregnancy, the illnesses, the gestational period, how it is mentally, physically, socially, everything, that matters a lot. As we have, as you all know, that if the rejection, we know the rejection remedies about the Maccar, Pura, all these remedies which comes up with the rejection from the parents, or over strict parents and disciplinary parents, uh, where we have seen the suppression of emotions in carcinosis in children. So not only from the clinical point of view, but from the homeopathy prescription point of view also it matters a lot. Our masters like Kent, Boger, all they have given drug pictures about these parenting issues. Okay, so and this is equally important for our clinical diagnosis. As a homeopath, we need to know what is common and what is uncommon in the disease. Another another important, as I have said, that parenting, their attitudes, mother's age, uh, even the marriage, if the marriage is in relation, consanguinity of the marriage, that matters a lot. Many of the many of the congenital anomalies, they are seen in consanguineous marriages. The age, nowadays people are are behind the careers and they are getting married lately, so that is one of the factor. Another important, artificial insemination, IVF is the most common method of conceiving nowadays, so that also a so these are all factors which are responsible for the development of any child psychiatry cases. Another, prenatal, perinatal, infancy, childhood, adolescence, all these what I can say, the events of our life, puberty, everything in case of females, puberty, all these are extremely crucial building stones of human life. Now, when at birth, if there is a history of asphyxia, the child has cerebral palsy, okay, and asphyxia, the damage of the brain is directly related to the time of asphyxia. As it is more, the more damage is done, and as you know that once the damage is done to the brain, it cannot be regenerated, and that is the sad thing about this. But but one thing is that when one road is closed, another is open. So we have to work on the brain which is working, okay. So these all factors are why these are important, because in child psychiatric cases you may find some associated medical conditions like epilepsy, and there is a brain damage during delivery, so that guards your prognosis, and your approach to the case is totally different, okay. So this is very important. So my first point is detailed case taking along with the from the point along with the so because all these factors can add as a precipitating or maybe maintaining cause in the clinical condition. That is important. This is family conflicts, attitudes, all these matters, okay. So now coming to the first child psychiatry cases, what I will first tell you about is neurodevelopmental disorders. Now when I say neurodevelopmental disorder, everyone was astonished that neurodevelopmental disorder comes under child psychiatry. Yes, it comes under child psychiatry. Under the neurodevelopmental disorder, DSM-5, now it is DSM-5, which has categorized the previous pervasive developmental disorders of autism, ADHD, motor disorders like tics, and the language disorders under neurodevelopmental disorders. Remember that first main categorization is required, and then they have categorized depression as a different, even they have differentiated now obsessive compulsive is different, and anxiety disorder they have categorized differently. Now they are under the OCD doesn't, they have not categorized under the anxiety disorder. It's a different entity. So coming to the first is neurodevelopmental disorder, because these cases nowadays we are facing a lot. We are aware about the oppositional different disorders, or we know about the anxiety disorder, and ADHD. These two conditions rather than autism, what we are encounter in our clinic is more of learning disability, ADHD disorder. So today I'm going to talk about that much, okay. So first thing is what I will talk about the autism. Remember when how this autistic child will present in your case. The parents will never come and tell you that, oh, please can you treat my autistic child. Very rare. Out of 10, 2 or 3 parents, they will come with this scheme, my child is having autism, whether there is any homeopathy treatment or not. But otherwise you need to with the help of your observations and detailed clinical history, you need to come to some diagnosis of the autism, which will be further confirmed or maybe in differential diagnosis by the clinical psychologist, those who the people who these are the professionals who do all these investigations, right? And now first of all, how they will present. We have seen the autistic children are presented a lot of hyperactivity. You know, there is a one sentence where you can describe autism: the child in his own world. The child, even a child who has not come into our world, since his growth, he is into his own world, not concerned about the social awareness, not concerned about the self awareness. That is the main feature of autism. So how this child will present in your clinic? He will always show lot of restlessness. He will run here and there, where you will think that the child has but if you go to the history, remember these points, that age of onset is always important in diagnosing any of the child psychiatry or even adolescent any psychiatric cases. So this is important. So autism, the condition must be present before the age of 3. Okay, that is a must criteria. Another 3 important criteria, these are social interaction. The child lacks social interaction. He will not give you he will not respond to his name. He will not able to give. The first sign of socialization is no eye to eye contact, and there is no sustenance of that eye to eye contact. So inability to sustain the eye to eye contact, or inability to give eye to eye contact, is the first feature which the parents will also narrate to you. The social gestures, hi, hello, they will not be in that position. Greeting others or verbal or non-verbal mode of communication is impaired in these children. Okay, so this is in DSM-5 they have said that in out of criteria under this, at least out of 6 maybe 3 to 4 has to be all has to be fulfilled. That is there. Another important issue is about the I have said about the age, about the restricted stereotype actions of the autistic children. They are resistant for change. Their routine, they are very inflexible in their disturb that. They will throw a lot of tantrums and irritability. That is there. So echolalia, the frequently, if you ask them question, what is your name, they will also tell what is your name. That is echolalia. They will repeat what you are asking them, so they will repeat the same speech. And another, if tearing of the papers, they will go on doing that tearing of paper. Okay, or they may keep all utensils in a one line, or they may be obsessed with keeping all shoes in a rack frequently, and if you disturb them, they don't like that, they throw tantrums. So this is very important. These features has to be present in autistic child. These are the criteria of autistic children. The third very important feature which is present in autism is delayed speech. If the speech is normal, it is very difficult to diagnose autism. See, I will come to another point respected to this. Some children have few words they can speak. Some children doesn't utter a single word at all, or some children may form some sentences, but their speech development is delayed as per the age. Okay, they may show you a normal teething, talking, teething, walking, all these milestones normal, but this milestone is definitely delayed in this patient. So this is important. The another important aspect, very important aspect of these children, issues. Hypo or hyperactivity of the senses. This is important. Now, how we learn, how any normal human being learn? He learns through senses. Like when he touches the orange, he comes to know, okay, this is the consistency, this is the visual, the color, and color of this, the taste. He comes to know, yes, this is the orange, or this is the apple. So through senses we learn, and that input and output has to be balanced and regularized. But this doesn't happen in autistic children, and that hampers their learning. So that hampers their learning. So this identification of the sensory issues in these children is extremely important. And remember that in every child, all sensory issues may not show deficit. Some children may show deficit in noise, sensitive to noise. Some children will show deficit to touch. Some children will show deficit to sensitivity to light. This is hypo or hypersensitivity symptoms. How the hyposensitivity to the touch, with what will be the symptoms? Like they have a aversion to brushing. If the mother complains that this child has an aversion to brushing, please go in detail with these sensory issues of the child, and please remember that don't ignore these symptoms for the diagnosis. That is important. The sensitivity, even in the for the noise, they will keep hand. The same this, they will go on hugging and kissing. All these are the very hypersensitive reaction to the touch. Now identify all this, and when I am saying it is disorder, remember whatever conditions we are labeling under the disorders, that means the person has to show impairment in his academic, social, social and emotional level. The problems of adjustment, all this this should hamper the child's functioning. So then only you can label the person having a disorder. Otherwise you can say that we are having the traits, because personality disorders we diagnose it when the person is in adolescence. We don't diagnose personality test in preschool or childhood disorder. We can say that the child is showing this trace, the chances of going into that personality disorders are high when he go into the adulthood. So this this is very important. Remember that. And why this is leave apart any child psychiatrist, but a child psychiatric case, but any case which comes to you with some mental disturbance, please see that if this is not, what will be the prognosis of this condition in adulthood, because you are carrying that malfunctioning, maladaptation into the next your milestone, and that will cause an impairment in the adaptation to the environment. Okay, and if one fails, go lot of physical complaints, chronic illnesses, diseases. So this is, everything is interlinked. So this is what is about, more about the autism. Now what is the another important aspect? Another is what co-occurs with autism. Can all autistic children are mentally retarded? No. What we have seen, so when these cases, before I will go to that, when such, if there is a checklist, MCHAT checklist that you can download from the net, and from that checklist, at least at the clinical setup, you can come to diagnosis of autism, the probable diagnosis of autism. Okay, and then don't handle these cases alone, please. Your drug may be similimum. You will be confident, oh, this features stramonium, this is coming, tarantula coming, carcinosin, okay. Yes, there are medicines in homeopathy, we will treat that with that. Please don't do that. My advice is our advice is that when you have come to this, please send these people, send the parents to clinical psychologist. As you all know, and now because this is now upcoming clinical conditions which are psychological conditions which are affecting the society, and most of the children, most of the schools now they have appointed they have appointed clinical psychologist or occupational therapist and all, and there are special schools for these children. So your next step is patients to the clinical psychologist, get evaluated by that. Is authenticity of your diagnosis. So what clinical psychologist will do, they will take see if the child is below 5 years of age, they will undergo VSMS. VSMS is a social quotient, determining the social quotient of the patient, what is the stage of his development. Every child, even though they are diagnosed autistic, every child will show variation in this quotient, and that is how it is important that every child's IQ, one may fall into the mild MR, the other may fall into the superior intelligence, or another may fall into moderate MR. So this all will affect your what you want to treat in the case and what you not. That is what is the prognosis of the case. Okay, even though you are treating it with the homeopathy drugs. So with the help of IQ, you will come to know what is the level of efficiency of this child, because your programs will start from where you are. If one child can have if the one child has this can speak few words or few simple sentences, then the program will be totally different. It depends upon his level of development. So IQ testing is important. Another, and it is required for the schooling of the children. Okay, you cannot mainstream these children easily. So it is mandatory, but still, if the child is not able to cope up, it is very difficult to continue their. If it is in the mainstream school, you have to have one attendant with them. Okay, without that it is not possible, because they are extremely hyperactive. They are not able to sit in one place for 1 or 2 minutes also. Few autistic children we have seen quite not that much hyperactive, that is there. So this is a clinical psychologist, the IQ. They will do GARS or CARS test. These are the this is where these tests, they are very simple questionnaires, and from this it depends the severity of autism, mild, moderate or severe autism. So again, this CARS test, if you are treating the patient for the evaluation of your improvement, do CARS test every 6 monthly. Do CARS test every 6 monthly, because that will give you the objective evaluation what your medicine has done. Okay, because otherwise all these are subjective symptoms. You will in follow up you will take up this is better, that is better, but this type of test which are standardized questionnaires, that will help for the evaluation of the autistic children. So get that done, CARS test, with the help of clinical psychologist. Okay. Now another, as I have told you about the hypo and hypersensory issues. Now who are the people, professionals who deal with this? This is where the role of occupational therapist comes in. The child should get evaluated by the occupational therapist, see what are his areas of deficit, sensory deficit, and accordingly start with the therapy. Okay. The third remedial educator, who will the child with the superior intelligence, or those, they can start with the remedial education. So that is how the multidisciplinary approach to all the autism or child psychiatric cases, like especially neurodevelopmental disorder, because it is affecting the pervasive in the sense all the areas of the children. They cannot mix up with the other people, so their emotional development is delayed, so that affects overall development of the child, and that is how it comes under child psychiatry. Now I have spoken lot about the another important aspect. Sorry, before I proceed to homeopathy, another important aspect is about the regression. The most of the time the parents give the history of regression. Now that has been not much focused in DSM-5, but the history of regression means the child may give the parents may give the history that he was able to speak, but that this incidents happened, and after that again the child has gone back. So that is the history of regression. That is a regression, and mostly the regression is related with the speech and socialization, developmental. The child was mixing, he was doing hi hello, he was playing with the peers, and suddenly some death happens in the family, or some family conflicts aggravate, or something that disturbs the child, and child goes in regression. So that history is also history of regression, not to forget. That is an important issue. Okay. So this is how you can approach to the patients. Okay. We have seen the biomarkers like serotonin levels are high in these autistic children, but not much significance in the prognostic point of view and of the autistic children. Okay, now from the homeopathy point of view, you may say, then what is the role of homeopathy in autism? You are giving this to a clinical psychologist, that to occupational therapist, remedial, then what we have to do? We have a lot of scope in treating these cases. See, these cases are going to be with you for quite a long period, years together. Okay, they are not these cases are not like asthma cases or any other cases of what we treat in our clinical practice. What is important is in this patient, along with this, we see the most of the associated features of the person, like lot of head banging, lot of aggression. These are some traits we see in autistic. Not all autistic children are aggressive. So head banging, biting, even biting their wrist, or pinching others, and these are very common expressions of aggressions in autistic children. So these associated features, they are really helpful. They are because parents are worried ki how to deal with this at home. I am in the kitchen, the child is in the room, and he starts head banging. They are worried ki whether he will self injurious behavior, destructive, has to be handled properly. The child has to be in the receptive state of receiving the therapies. we have seen the so much of hyperactivity and restlessness in the children, so that the even therapists are not able to conduct any test on them, or are not able to undergo the therapy. Like occupational therapist, if they want to have a therapy, they cannot be managed now under the general. Their stand is just get the medication done for 3 months, and then we will get evaluated this child, we will evaluate this child, and then we will start with the therapy. Okay, so and again these children have most common symptom, what mother says now, this child doesn't sleep early, he plays at night at 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, and I have to most of in Mumbai 80% women are now working, and they have to catch the train at 8 o'clock, and how they are going, is for them it's a really practical difficulty ki how we can make this child sleep. So they are active till 1 and 2 o'clock. So sleeplessness is very common in these children. We need we need to have no, pay attention to these symptoms, because you can't give the Restil at every time and make the child sleep. No. So then they say ki haan, the child sleeps whole day and at night he is playful and all that. So this, apart from this diagnosis, there are so many practical issues which comes in these children that we need to handle. There is a lot of scope. So the homeopathy, what role homeopathy plays in this, the review issues of the autism, the restlessness, the head banging. We have so many good medicines for that. I think this is not. I think anyone can go under the mind head banging, and see, always take a general symptom first, because head banging you will see only 4 to 5 remedies. So first you go for the general anger, violence, and then if you are to really differentiate, and at the time of first prescription, that means differentiation, then you can take the help of that. But otherwise, just don't prescribe on the very one or two specific expressions, and can give good belladonna or can give this and that. Don't do. Take all the detailed history, the physical generals of the case, and parental attitudes. Take all that into consideration while prescribing. So what I was telling about the homeopathy plays a role at that level, about the controlling the behavioral issues of the case. When I am saying controlling, believe me, these cases are not easy to handle. Actually, rather than which medicine, these cases follow-ups are really tough task, because suddenly the child is settled, and one fine day the mother will saying ki from morning he is doing lot of head banging, not able to control, or is biting this. So in that in acute phases we have given belladonna and all, but these repetitive behavioral traits, they don't go easily, though we can find easy in the repertory, this is for this expressions, but in reality they are very difficult to eliminate. Okay, but definitely we have the scope for that. So behavioral aspects of autism are controlled by the help of homeopathy. Another important issue about what I have told about the physiological functioning of these cases, sleep disturbance, as I told, less sleep, low appetite, and you believe me, parents, rather than other aspects, parents are much worried about their child's appetite. So you need to when these physiological functions are disturbed, then we need to, yes, and they are of course they are necessary for your normal development. So sleep disturbances, motion, because these children, they are not interested in eating, they gulp, and then most of the children may have the complaints of constipation or loose stools or something like that. So all derail physiological functioning, at the same time behavioral में आपका hyper activity से related, along with the head banging and all the specific associated features which comes in with these children. The third important aspect is about the role of homeopathy that comes is about the sensory issues. Sensory issues, right? Sense, we have a very good remedies like stramonium, tarantula, all these medicines. They help carcinosin, phosphorus. They have borax. If you go and like child was he was an autistic child, was reasonably he was stable, and was they were traveling by train, and from the train was in the tunnel, and from the opposite side the another train was coming with the very loud whistling, and this child was, with this sudden noise, this child was so frightened that from that day, means he cling to the mother, and from that day again the regression of his speech developed, and we have prescribed in so sensitivity to noise. The stramonium will cover only 1 mark medicine, but then the fear state and the clinging behavior and other fearful features which child has shown, we prescribe stramonium. So this is a sensitivity, how the child reacts with that sensitivity. See, it is the issue now. If sensitivity to scolding, what emotions are generated in you after scolding? The one child may think that oh, my parents have scolded me, I should not have done this is wrong. But other child may show that, may harbor a hostility ki, oh, means my teacher has scolded me, I don't like that. And what they will not, I don't like that teacher, that much will be the expression of this child. At the same time, the child will start avoiding that person. So remember that what the just go and this is the just go at the sensitivity to noise, sensitivity to light. Okay, these are the remedies, but try to see that what state it develops in the child, that dispositional quality of that person or that child, and that is how our prescription changes. We have seen in carcinosin history of disturbed parental disturbed family life, along with the cancer. Yeah, we all know about the cancer history, the congenital problems in the family or history of TB, music emulation, even that is in tarantula, but that is equally in carcinosin, craving fruits and all these things. They are fastidiousness also we have seen. Yes, in autistic children we have seen that some children, they don't like dirt at all. So this we have seen. Religious mania, like religious, they will go on collecting the images of God, or they will go on praying. Or many children, they know the bhajans pit pat, but they don't know anything else. So these are the different features which are present in autism, and homeopathy plays a role in it, a great role in it. So when such cases come, one must be clear about what you want to, when you know about autism, uh, take the help of DSM-5 and ICD-10 and checklist. At for every each and every condition, checklists are available on the net. You can download that. Okay, like Brown's the, this scale for depression. Scale ADHD, from where you can along with that you can diagnose the traits of conduct disorders and all. Okay, so this is related with the autism. So what the group of medicines we have come through, we have seen in the autistic is this wide range of carcinosin, phosphorus, nux vomica, lot of impulsivity in nux vomica, stramonium, tarantula, opium. So this is the range of remedies which we have seen in most of the time in autistic children. Now your prescription will depend upon how which symptom you evaluated. Don't take delayed speech in in higher evaluation for treating the autistic children. See all these features first and give importance to these features and prescribe on that. Your method may be different, but all this has to be kept in mind. Okay, selection of potency and medicine. Mostly too lower potency doesn't help. Our experience tells us higher potencies with infrequent repetition helps a lot, and requirement of intercurrent, most of the time tuberculum in tuberculinum, it helps the cases definitely, and it is required. You just can't prescribe the child and carcinosin and go on giving carcinosin 200 no, you may require different medicines, phase medicines for the acute exacerbations. At the same time you will require intercurrent, because many times these cases doesn't move ahead for a quite long period of time. Also they don't show any. All about autism, I think I have given this introduction. Now actively, now you have to go into the books and read more about it. This is just these features, whatever I have told you, have to just a guideline. This is not all about autism. These are the guidelines for the autism. You may have a different experience, and you may learn something different from your experience. So this is about autism, the first neurodevelopmental disorder. Now the second neurodevelopmental disorder, which is extremely important and which is more common than autism, and that is attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. Okay, now attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, we have seen must be seen that lot of hyperactive children in your clinical setting. The child is not sitting in one place, but otherwise a normal child is interacting with the parents who say, yes, I want a lace, I want to this. They are interacting with the parents, they are very affectionate. They will build a relationship with the doctor very easily. It's like that. So what is the another important is attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. Now 60% of children with ADHD carry their disorders into adulthood. Remember, disorder. When I am saying it is disorder, again DSM-5 has defined the criteria for attention deficit disorders. Now, the three important components of hyperactivity disorder. These are three components of the ADHD. And DSM-5, now under the inattention, there are I think 9 or 10 criteria. Out of that, 6 has to be matched. And now they have combined impulsivity and inattention together and again the same thing, out of 9, 6 has to be fulfilled. That check that we have to see when we label them as a disorder. Again, disorder means the child must show the impairment in all other areas like academic underachievement, social issues, and behavioral problems. So these are the another aspects of ADHD. ADHD is mostly the age of onset before the age of 12. Okay, and this ADHD children, most of the 47% of ADHD children has shown the traits of OCD, as a oppositional defiant traits. Okay, so and they have also shown, and out of that 14% in adulthood they can go into the conduct disorder. Along with the ADHD, what are the another main common comorbidity which is present in these cases is anxiety. Why you know anxiety? Because ADHD, it is in most of the cases it is associated with learning disability. That is how, that is important, that is how the one single clinical or any psychological issue is interlinked with the another, like our systemic diseases. If one system with the anxiety, like along with the anxiety, the child may show the symptoms of depression. And in children, how the symptoms of depression are shown? They will not the child will not sit in the corner and like gloomy. No, the child will present, always will present with the lot of tantrums and irritability. Okay, so generally, and we treat that doctor, he is very irritable child, very irritable child. It disturbs the whole valley, and he doesn't cooperate and this. So we need to go into detail whether it is a depression, anxiety, what is overlapping. Mostly these conditions overlap each other. Okay, so the important aspect along of the ADHD, you can now, as I have given you guideline that depending upon the checklist, you can go, there is a ADHD ka this checklist also, Conners scale, and available other scales are also available on the net. You go, you keep this along at your at your table side, and just when this child comes, have that habit of ruling out symptoms and doing that. So ADHD along with the learning disability, how much important is right? Now how they present means, most of the time ADHD child and a learning disability children, they are presented by the parents. However, a doctor, he or she doesn't eat properly and has a very low birth weight, and he's very lean thin and no interest in eating, and he has a aversion to writing or do any work. Or he give me if I ask him to, he doesn't follow the simple instructions. So this is a with the we have seen that the parents come with the physical complaints most of the time, and then when you explore the case, you come to know the different aspects of the case related with the diagnosis itself. Leave apart the homeopathy prescription and all, that is a further issue. But when you are seeing the what is, when you are seeing this is person, so what are the other so many components which is affecting this person well-being, mental and physical, social well-being of this child? Because anything at this level, you are going to carry it in your adult life. This is going to impair your maturity. Okay, so and maturity is related with your adaptation to the situation, stress. Okay, so uh, uh, yeah, I was telling about this early symptoms. Now, the if you have checklisted the ADHD children, along with that, um, early symptoms of learning disability, the directionality, wearing the footwear, wearing the shoes. The child will always wear it right into left, left into right. The confusion he will make before the preschool. This is during the preschool time. Okay, so he will wear right into left, and that confusion he will make. And an early symptom now is when they are in junior or senior KG, initial mistakes of B and D, 6 and 9, that mirror images they do. But see, don't go and try to diagnose these cases as learning disability at this level, please. No, only thing you have to wait and watch for a year, because this is something learning, writing, reading, these are the new exercises for them. So give them time of 1 year to get acquainted with it. And if in spite of repeated exposure, if they make the same mistakes, then go for the evaluation. But just don't be overconfident and overdiagnose. If the child with senior KG has this B and D confusion, oh, learning disability, you are creating a lot of anxiety in parents. But you have to be very cautious about his no, very keep a track about his progress. So that is where the early symptoms of learning problems will come. And most of the even means my experience is that sometimes I go under depression. Really, why, you know? Because as a child, as a physician, you are able to diagnose the cases early, but the parents are not able to accept that. What answers they will give, you know? Yeah, his father was like that in childhood. He was also very restless. His grandparents has told like that to me, the mother will say. And I don't think, doctor, it is something, because only thing is he doesn't pay attention. A lot, definitely a lot of you are wasting a important time, crucial time of the child's life by denying the problem. And and this doesn't happen with the illiterate, and unfortunately this happens more with the literate parents, because for them it's really very difficult to accept that my child is not able to perform. So early diagnosis of the cases are important, make them aware. So your role isn't confined only for the diagnosis and for the prescription, but awareness in the society. And who is with the children most of the time? Teachers. Rather than mother, it is a teacher who is with the patient, with the children. So now you have seen that those who are running these multidisciplinary centers, they have this component of approaching to the schools or making camps, making awareness about these conditions, because they will be able to pick up the cases early, and they will be able to inform that to the parents, and they can come to the doctor. Because when something comes from the school and teachers, then parent, till that time the parents may become a little negligent, but then it comes from the school, it is then their approach changes. So like In Marathi it is said that sonarane कान टोचावे लागतात, like that. So this is the different very rarely the patient will come with these are the issues. Now I want to start with the homeopathy. First of all, they don't have the acceptance of the condition, and the second is for that to take homeopathy, that is the different, again another different channel, and to tell them, and they are going to ask you lot many questions about it. So these are the practical issues which we face in the clinical settings. So this is remember, in learning disability and ADHD, these comorbidities of impulsivity, self-destructive behavior. Now these children will always develop headache, vomiting while going to the school. Right? Learning disability. Many times doctors ask me, Doctor, what is the difference between this learning disability and autism? We don't know. How the children are restless and all, we don't know about it, but what is the criteria? Now my child is very smart, very good in singing, my child is very good in acting, my child is very smart, but what is learning disability? The definition of learning disability is, in spite of good efforts, the child is, in spite of normal or above average intelligence, the child is facing difficulty in 4 major areas. Remember these 4 major areas: reading, writing, maths and concentration. Okay, so these are the 4 areas of your learning disability. Remember, okay, the child's oral performance is good. The parents will always say that this child is giving, doctor, he knows everything, but he makes silly mistake while writing. Why? That carelessness, impatience, hurriedness. So these behavioral traits are affecting the child's learning, and he is, in spite of his ability, his achievement, he has underachievements in academics. So that is a learning disability. So when you can have informal assessment also in your clinic. If you don't have checklist, then you can ask the child to write something, 10 sentences. You come to know about the dyslexia, the related with the reading. Now you go through the net and you can see the symptoms of dyslexia, like spelling mistakes, grammatic mistakes and all these things. Dysgraphia, dyslexia, writing, dyscalculia, mathematics. So you can give the child some sum and ask him to do that. And even with that, if you find some issues, then you can advise. Again, the role of clinical psychologist comes in. No school will or nobody will say that, okay, homeopath has told this is LD, so we can. No. There has to be authenticity along with objectivity and this in your diagnosis. So clinical psychologist, again this role of clinical psychologist in assessing the first step. IQ is must, because categorization, normal 70 to 80, neither they are mentally retarded nor they are average. So mental retardation, mild, moderate. So IQ decides under which category you are falling. And in IQ, if oral and written, if there is a 20% of difference, more than 20, I think 15 or 20%, I may be wrong, but it may be 15 or 20%, 15 I think so, then you can suspect learning problems in the child. Go for the detailed educational assessment. We perform Woodcock Johnson. There are many other tests also for the reading ability, writing ability. So a detailed educational assessment is required for the learning disability children. Again, that is also very important, for that confirms your diagnosis of LD, and at the same time that is that helps for the planning of your remedial education. Okay, so along with that, the what I was saying about learning detailed educational assessment, go for after this test, the role of remedial comes in. And one thing I want to tell you, that occupational therapist role in autism, okay, after the age of 12 or 13, the role is very limited. So early diagnosis and early intervention of all this multidisciplinary approach, it is very important, because otherwise it will not have any even though if you diagnose that. Okay, so I was telling about the planning of the remedial education. These children will require remediation, at least as per our experience. If the severity is more and the age is advanced, maybe 2 to 3 times per week, or maybe at least 2 times per week. That will be very helpful. Once a week it will not be of that helpful. Otherwise, if you have any other difficulties, then you can have home programs for the children. Along with that, you can continue with the main schooling. Okay, main schooling, you can continue with it. Another aspect about the learning disability, that even though if you have diagnosed that case when the child is in 5th, 6th or 7th standard, generally we say that don't take certificate. You know all this facility about the LD certificate. I think most of the doctors now know that, most of the people also know that the certificate, learning disability certificate, we generally advise that to take at 9th and 10th, because you know these children are very smart, because they are aversion to writing, and if from the 5th and 7th if you submit that certificate in the school, then these children becomes more lethargic, the effort level reduces. So better we can we can postpone that taking that certificate little late, and let the child took the efforts to complete. As it is now, till 8th standard you are promoted. So that is one of the major difficulty in diagnosing, early diagnosis of the cases. Teachers and schools sometimes are giving up. Okay, and now everyone is obsessed with the 100% result. So that is OCD of the adults. Okay, that is a different part. So ADHD, talking about the remedial and all. Now what scope homeopathy has to? Okay, all ADHD patients, there may not be any sensory issues. If you find that there are any sensory issues, you can get evaluated by the occupational therapist. But if the child has come after the age of 10 or 11, it's very limited role of occupational therapist in that. But occupational therapy, yes, that also along with that sensory integration as in childhood, occupational therapy has a role in behavioral also. But yes, homeopathy supersedes that. So when you are treating these cases of ADHD, the comorbidity of the disposition, the traits of oppositional defiant, anxiety, all this will help you for the expressions of the differentiating one case from the another. Okay, so taking into the totality, like opposition defiant, the child will not listen, rest, he will do the opposite things, or the anxious, the another anxious child, he will throw tantrum, or the children like the sad, or they will go into their shell, and they will be calm and quiet, will not interfere with other. So different range of expressions. So now the way I have told you that the behavioral traits, you find out associated features along with the physical generals and all, because all this again all these behavioral and mood associated mood disorder, please go with the criteria, find out what, even if any common symptoms, if it is present in the higher intensity like hyperactivity in this autism, if you find any common symptom, if in a higher intensity, we can take that in the evaluation and prescribe. So this is how we are dealing with the cases of ADHD with the learning disability. And remember, don't claim high, because these conditions remain throughout the life. So so what is real, what you are going to really treat in this patient, be focus on that. Okay, even in some slow learner cases, even some cognition level of functions has improved, like the role of homeopathy, what we were talking about initially, about the concentration ability, attention, now able to give the attention at least for 5 to 10 minutes. These are the expressions what I have told you about autism, like behavioral, physiological. And in learning disability, where this child has low birth weight, they also are associated with lot of immunological aspects, like recurrent infections or anything that can be taken care of. So you are going to improve the immunity, which is a very again worrisome issue to the parents, because every 15 days they have to take it to the pediatrician, get the child for the cough and cold or fever and all. So they are very susceptible to get infections repeatedly. So along with all these physiological complaints, along with this behavioral sensory issues, and this, we are able to control it at that level, and some level we are able to cure it also, with like recurrent URTI or something like that. And behavioral may inattention, restlessness, now sitting tolerance, sitting tolerance, carelessness. Now what is a common expression of carelessness is losing the things in the school. He's careless. And nowadays the parents also bring everything in bulk. इसके ऊपर 10% छूट है, सेल है, then the 12 water bottles are available in this home. So everything is ample at home. So they know, even if I miss that, I am going to get another. So please bring the things as per requirement. If the child knows that I am going to get, and this carelessness is, the homeopathy is not amrut, is going to do everything. So this behavioral modification by the parents is required. It's extremely important. We cannot ignore that. The parental attitudes go into the specific. See, if you have a very high OPD, and if you don't have time to speak with the patient, at least refer them to counseling. Because if you understand that these are the roles of these may be the factors about this, you don't have time, please refer it to the counseling. There also it is required. Okay, so all, and that is how all these multidisciplinary clinics has come up, depending upon that requirement. And believe, if you keep this approach to the cases, you are early diagnosing the cases of adulthood in a childhood. Today's diagnosis is going to affect your the adulthood cases, and it is said if it is properly done, if your foundation is properly done, the work is 50% over. So the your next part will be your initial efforts. You need to take more efforts. After that, once that is done properly, you are done. So this is the important aspects about the neurodevelopmental disorder. Again, in ADHD, depending up the selection, these medicines they come up. All those medicines they come up. Even calcarea, all natrum, and all the main constitutional medicines do come up in ADHD. And we have again in these cases also. We have prescribed, I think, moderate potencies with the infrequent repetitions because of hypersensitivity, behavioral issues. Because otherwise, there are some EEG changes which are found in the ADHD. That is, increased frontocentral theta band activity is consistent associated with ADHD, but that is not found in each and every person. Okay, there are no much specific biomarkers for ADHD, but this EEG is there. And see, they have given the importance to there's a 50% of brain weight is a lipid, and out of that 20% is FUFA. So omega 3 and omega 6 fatty acids also, they are very essential for the brains. That is a constant source in membrane structure as a mediator of immune responses. So the importance of diet in all both these conditions is has to be emphasized. Gluten free diet in autistic children, now we are saying gluten free diet, more of carbohydrates. We ask them to have a potato or maybe rice in that, and of course all other junk food. The food which contains colors and preservatives has to be added total. Okay, you want to give French fries, you make it at home, you can give that. It is important. Now these are the two conditions which comes under the neurodevelopmental disorders. There are another like motor and tic disorders, but another the other aspects of child psychiatry now which I have taken under the comorbidity, like conduct disorder, oppositional defiant disorders, mood, depression. Again, because depression is one of the most common cause of mental health problems in now in coming up, like after heart it is a depression. So depression, conduct disorders, anxiety disorder, anxiety problem, social avoidance, separation anxiety, selective mutism, all this will come under the behavioral disorder, behavioral. So you need to don't ignore these features. Try to see whether they are coming, there are any disorders related with that, and prescribe accordingly. Like we have seen natrum hai, tarantula hai, all this will come under in ADHD also. We have prescribed tarantula also in ADHD. There are so many other medicines which will come. Will find on for prescription. So there are only 5 to 6, 6 max to 6 to 7 features which will lead to similimum. So not very difficult to prescribe, but then management is really a difficult task. So I think this lecture has just opened the first guideline. You can say this as a guideline for child psychiatry, because if I have to go for each and every condition, it may take another few hours. But we all are aware about the mind and the behavior and all that. So whatever may be the condition, your baseline of approach to these cases remains same. Take the help of clinical psychologist and all for your diagnosis if you are not confident about the diagnosis. Okay, and this is how I'm ending my lecture. Thank you very much for listening me patiently.